Let me know
Good
if you.
morning and welcome back to Into the Jeremyverse. Today it will be the equipment of doom, a discussion on equipment inside our characters, our homes, our lives, wherever it may impact us. We have, as ever, our wonderful DM Alex and Conric Cinder Earth uh, joining as part of the panel for discussions. Welcome, both of you.
Morning.
Lovely morning to be here.
Yes, typical. Typical. So today we kind of want to do a conversation instead of character creation, instead of world building. We want to do what enhances your character on the material stuff, specifically the equipment that you pick up, you wear, you avoid, whatever. Uh, so I feel we'll just start with just a quick little quintessentials. What are the things that you think every character needs to have, or at least somebody in every group has to have it?
It's all the basic stuff that most people have. The rope, the rations, the little utility things that you don't think you're going to use, but then you find an interesting way to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some thieves' tools, if anybody's dexterous enough to actually use them.
The almighty torch.
Yes,
Yeah. Light
or an
source.
equivalent. I love whenever a party first gets together and they're like, "All right, we're going into these tunnels," and you find out half the players have night vision, and the other ones have no vision and no torches.
No form of light source.
Yeah.
Like
All I
And
wandering
brought
all
off
of
was
the
my
into
faith in
spellcasters were
humanity.
like, I'm not going to dump a cantrip on light or dancing lights. That's just a waste. It doesn't have damage numbers.
Yeah, well, there are plenty of enemies that will help you out with fairy fire. Like, that's just a helpful little. Now we can all see.
Thank you.
uh, Kind of going off that, you said use things in interesting ways. Are there some stupid ways that you've seen people use the basic equipment? Rope, torches, whatever.
Bad stupid or useful stupid?
Yes.
Mm.
First one,
I've
then the other.
I've seen useful stupid took a scroll tube and our mage cast light on a stone and put it in the tube and made an arcane flashlight where all you have to do is cap the tube and the light goes out.
That's kind of
I
fun.
like it.
Uh,
The problem I run into is it's really been so long since I've played up until recently, so a lot of the stories that I used to have just elude me. They come up randomly while we're talking, but the rest of the time, we're like when you're trying to draw on it, I'm like, was there? And like tomorrow, I'll have some stupid story for you.
We're going to come back and edit in. We're going to cut out what you just said and put in whatever your story was. Nobody will ever know.
You should just cut the
Uh,
audio, so it's like bad lip syncing.
yeah.
perfect transitions. Here we come.
I was just watching the podcast. This game is cursed, and the bard was supposed to give bardic inspiration to like say something, and he goes, "Yes, I'm telling you stuff that it's reminding you of uh, motivational quotes from history and moments of your life that give you purpose and all these things." They're like, "Wait, are you just telling me what the response is to the bardic inspiration, or are you actually saying these things?" He's like, "No, you're having an emotional response to the things I would have said that did those things."
Because I don't know what to actually say, so I'm just going to say things that
Yeah,
sound cool.
It worked. It was good for the moment. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of
I've
asked the
got a
question.
horror story of people not using essential equipment that,
let's hear it.
should have been right at the start. We had to go down a well that had been boarded up,
Mm-hmm.
and the first three party members were like, how wide's the well? And the DM's like, about 3-4 feet wide. All right, I've seen American Ninja Warrior. I'm gonna jump down the well, stick my arms and legs out, and just slide down.
Ooh.
All right, give me an athletics or acrobatics check. 3 consecutive failures later and some bludgeoning damage from fall damage, I'm like, I'm gonna take my 50 feet of rope, tie it to one of the posts on the side of the well, and carefully climb my way down.
Yes.
Like,
And everyone's like,
hey, buddy.
why didn't I think of that? And I'm like, because you weren't thinking.
Just call it TPK the hard way. We're jumping down the well. You could climb. I'm jumping down the well. I've said it.
You get
Actually,
down
that
there, like,
reminds
hey,
me.
buddy, that looks broken.
Alex, when we did a prequel, John couldn't make it one night. And so it was Alex and our friend Aaron playing. And they went out searching for something. They found a well and they needed to get into it. And going to the bottom to see if they could find anything, they tied the rope to Aaron's character and lowered him down like a claw machine to pick up whatever he could find at the bottom.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, I'm a 400-pound turtle person, and he's a dragonborn midget, or small person, I guess you'd say.
Yes.
It just made the most sense. Here, I'll
It
lower
did.
you.
No, I liked it. It wasn't like a stupid thing. I expected the
It's
rope
kinda
lowering. I think lowering it down was fine. It was at the bottom. At the end, it's like, I'm gonna collect all these things. You pull me up while I hang on to them.
Yeah.
And it was like, what is like a claw machine? That's how we're gonna do this.
It's better than just straight jumping down with no plan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just straight Leroy Jenkins.
I don't know. I think no plan is almost better than I'm gonna spring from wall to wall or put my arms out and slow myself. It's kind of like let fate take its course, and then you just swan dive to the bottom.
Yeah, well, this was also a dry well, and we'd been told it was a dry well.
It
So there
wasn't
was
dry
no-
for long.
Yeah, now it's got blood at the bottom.
Yes. I think this well is cursed. All the water's blood.
No, that was just the adventurers that dove in head first.
The good news is
I
we got
wonder-
your well restarted.
I might have ruled that with bad enough saves on that, I would have bumped it up to a D8 of bludgeoning damage, because not only from hitting the ground, but from bouncing off the walls of the well as you fall. It's not like you're gonna fall straight.
Yeah, have them roll decks to see if they're getting any of their wall jumps in. Ooh, yeah, you hit that wall. Now you're pinwheeling.
There were deck saves to see if the first person got crushed by the second and third, because then there would have been additional bludgeoning damage from, impact.
They should just all jumped at once and pretended like it was a Halo dive.
Then they might have actually been able to, hit the
Yeah.
sides and slow themselves.
We are wedged in halfway.
I think it's funny that whenever people think of wells, they're always thinking of just like this deep circular hole, but like a lot of wells, yeah, the top like 5 or 6 feet, people have rounded out for aesthetics, but it opens up into the water, like however big that is. It's not,
Yeah.
it's not just this perfect hole. I'm sorry, I'm getting some feedback.
Uh-oh.
Like the best example is if you've ever seen the movie Goonies, when they're like yelling up from down in that cave, they're yelling up a
Mhm.
well. Well,
Yeah.
that's only circular for the top few feet, and then it opens up into this cave.
Yeah, I can say that's about all I can think of for basic equipment that people used interestingly that I can remember.
Most
So-
of the time, it's just forgotten for your backpack and your clothing and your weapons.
Yeah, yeah. I noticed. My one character Nado, I packed him with call traps and ball bearings so he could trap at all the rooms around him if he really wanted to. and he has not used any of those yet. So he's literally
Yeah.
lugging 100 pounds of floor traps through a dungeon.
I forgot
Whenever
about
he
him
looks
too. I
at
don't
like,
look at your guys.
I know everybody forgot about him. But like literally, he was trying to lose some weight, and all he was doing was getting rid of like he was feeding everybody else on the team rations out of his backpack. He could literally just get rid of the 500 ball bearings he has, or whatever the count is, and just take a load off. No, one food ration at a time. So, what are things that you've seen other players like? Oh, I have to have this. Oh, I have to have that. That probably should have been avoided. Not necessarily like big, major, like magical weapons or anything, but something basic that it's like you're never going to use that with this character.
It's
I see people rush
it,
in. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's definitely been not magic weapons, just weapons in general.
Mm-hmm.
Like there'll be a strength based fighter class, and they'll pick up
A
like
whip.
a whip or a javelin or just everything dex based. And when questioned, they're like, "Well, I might use it," and it's like, when you have
Yeah,
next to no modifiers for it, and the starting weapon you took does more damage than it.
a lot more. Actually, interesting you brought that up. My very first weapon I ever put on a character was a whip, but it was a dex-based character. It just was a really crappy one, and that whip did like no damage ever. I think the most I ever did with that whip was
No,
like 5 damage.
Still better than the
I had a
dex-based
character that
barbarian I played with.
Ugh.
he's
It
like the last
depends.
of the Mohicans.
Let's say, do you
Free
switch
running
the
through the
stats?
woods.
Like he's just yelling hardcore parkour as he barrels around like the group of enemies.
The DM
I
allowed
played a whip fighter
the
once.
stat swap,
Yeah.
so that everything was based off dex rather than strength,
Mm-hmm.
and they took it to backseat so they'd get the dex bonus. They still somehow had a higher strength and opted to be a bow user. And I'm like, why did you just not choose a dex-based fighter?
Yeah. Like I can see a dex-based barbarian for throwing things. Like there, I want to make this like halfling barbarian that just chucks rocks at everybody, and
I
like that's
totally
all they
missed an
do.
opportunity with Gura. I should have made him throw hammers, and his name could have been Koopa.
Oh my lord.
It's not too late. He can still throw hammers.
Find an ancient text.
As
No,
we're going through these
I think where
sewers.
people get too hung up on the idea of a weapon. Sometimes they just completely go off class, like you're saying. Like you chose this class and that weapon doesn't suit it at all. And sometimes that can be really cool, but a lot of times it seems like a frustrating amount of work to make it work the way
Mhm.
they want it to. And before long they end up just switching weapons.
Or never switching and just being useless.
Yeah. Just being completely stubborn about it.
Yeah.
Or they'll put it in their back holster rather than giving it to somebody at benefit, so that it just kind of sits there, forgotten
Yeah.
about in the throes of their character sheet.
I draw my short swords. I sheathe my short swords and start throwing daggers. Stay tuned for more ways to ruin your action economy.
Yeah, in 3.5 that's even more of a hit.
Yeah.
I like that me and one of the other players were talking how in 3.5 I forgot that just a distracted action can count for an attack of opportunity. So it's not even necessarily like you have to be flanking or whatever. It's like if they try to do something, they're trying to get a potion out of their bag or whatever, that's an attack of opportunity. And it makes
Mm-hmm.
sense because you're not just gonna like reach in and grab it first thing unless it's a bag of holding or something.
Oh, that sounds
I always thought,
brutal.
yeah, I always thought in 3.5, a portable hole was really cool. Like, I never got to, but I always had this idea where I wanted, because there's a portable hole. It's basically like a tablecloth that you throw down, but it's a hole. Like it opens up an extra dimensional space. And I was like, we should build a pillbox in this hole that like you throw the hole down and then you get in and push the pillbox up and it's just like a bunch of shields or whatever. Then you could just sit there and shoot spells and arrows at people from inside your pillbox of protection. It's like instant foxhole. But I like that 3.5 has more like interdimensional spaces for storage, portable holes and Havard sacks and you know bags of holding.
Yeah.
But that's not like a standard piece of equipment. That was always just one that I was obsessed with when we were playing back in the day.
No, and it's fine. It's cool because there's always that one thing like I have to find this magical weapon, or I really think this would be cool for my character. Yeah, work for it, find it, use it. I don't
And
know how
it,
many times I found something I wanted and never touched it again.
and it doesn't even have to be
Oh yeah,
equipment or weapons that would help you in combat or help you in very broad senses. It could be a fun little item that is a staff that just makes bird noises.
Yes, that needs to come back up.
He
Next time you
still
guys are
has
walking,
it.
I know. Next time you're walking quietly or going stealthily, you can hear chirp, 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 chirp.
Is Alex aware
that
of
was
the
in a whole.
staff yet?
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah.
Oh, you were still there when we were talking about it, and we were told not to say anything to him and see if he tries to use it.
Yeah, I'm waiting. He's gonna take one wrong step and get weird bird sounds. All the monsters in the dungeon are gonna go, "What's up with the turkeys?"
Oh, it should start doing the most obnoxious, loud bird call that you can hear from basically miles away.
There's a couple of those.
A peacock.
Yes, that
They
would
are
be fantastic.
so loud.
I'm gonna have to upload that into the StreamYard um, background music. Like,
And just play it.
add it. Without warning, just dead center of the dungeon. All right, we're gonna sneak around this corner and take them up.
And everything within a 300-foot radius is now aware of your presence.
Yes, I like that.
I don't know. It could also help you sneak though. Like you don't have to be as quiet because there's a cacophony of bird noises going off.
Yes.
Is it centered on him or is it just an area effect? Like,
The ruling I've made, the sound's supposed to come from the staff, and I'm going to say that the sound comes out of his mouth. Because I think that's just more interesting. Like, the staff gives him the ability to make bird sounds.
Now I'm just thinking of Kevin from Up, and his eyes will just go wide, and his mouth opens, and he just starts screaming out a peacock noise. And it's like, what are you doing?
Guys, there's something right around the corner, and when he goes to something, it just comes out peacock. Or just something really obscure, like some toucan sounds. Kookaburra. Have him question his own sanity. I think that kind of falls into our next some horror stories. My favorite so far was we had a player who got a sword that he wanted, a long sword. And it wasn't like one he was looking for, but it's like you find a magical longsword. Cool, I'm going to take it. and the random item generator we got gave it the flavor texting of when something was killed by it, it sprang into a pile of beetles, and everybody saw it but the player. And so we weren't telling him what it was until he kills that first thing, and all of a sudden he just spattered in beetles that have appeared out of nowhere. I think for the rest of us, it's a good anecdote, but for him, it's like, why do I have this weapon?
He's still using it.
He is. I'm waiting for you guys to, like, he's going to kill something and we go to loot the body. No, that loot is now all beetles. I'm sorry. That guy literally had one of everything you ever wanted. Now it's all beetles.
Enough with the sword already. We'll get a new one in town. Jesus.
I do believe it's getting to the point where he is about ready to anything else he finds he will take to replace that sword.
I found a sword the other day that makes the wielder of it, when you draw it, immune to flames and fire, but it also sets you on fire.
Oh, so it just gives you a free flame cloak spell. Nice.
Yes, except I'm playing is you can't see through the flames. Like you're just surrounded in fire. I mean, that's going to have to be a con save. Yeah, you're going to have a con save every time you draw that. Am I willing to set myself on fire? Maybe this time I won't be immune to the flames.
I almost want to go a wisdom or a will save to see if they have the nerve to draw it.
Yeah. Yeah,
The horror story I've got for items is I was playing in a campaign and my character managed to find a pretty decent custom +1 Warhammer. And as we would progress through the campaign, the Warhammer sort of progressed with us. So as we grew in level, it became a +2, and then at its strongest form, it was a +3 Warhammer with sub-effects. So it could allow me to cast certain spells, allow me to gain advantage against certain foes, and it was a really nice magical weapon. Well, after this giant battle against a Hydra, we defeated the Hydra, party celebrating, and we're put into a railroad-esque type cutscene where the DM describes how another BBEG magically appears, stuns all of us, takes the hammer from me, laughs at us, and leaves. And I'm like, I have no other weapon besides that hammer.
Ooh.
Yeah. And that was the only thing he took was my weapon.
It always helps to have a backup weapon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, let me rephrase. I had no weapon that could compare. And we had not found any other weapon that could have compared.
Yeah,
so I went from being able to keep up with the other party members to now I couldn't even come close to the other party members.
Mm-hmm. So that kind of leads me to a question I thought of is, do you pick up and use anything given to you, or are you picky? Does your character I only use long swords? Or if it's anything you can use, will you use it?
I think that would fall down to what character you're playing. Like, Gura, he'll use anything. Literally.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we've seen
I've seen it.
But, some other characters, they're more like a metropolitan kind of fastidious person, they only want this certain thing. This is all I'm proficient with. I could see people being picky, but normally I'll just pick up whatever until I find something better. I mean, free
Which
weapons is free
I
weapons.
agree with that. One of the main just prompts is, am I proficient with it, or does it fit my character?
Yeah. So one of my
If
favorite things I found was actually in the Shadowrun campaign. We were in South America, and we're just like a basic refugee camp. It's wilderness bandits, whatever you want to call them. And we asked if they had any guns we could have, and they're like, "Well, yeah, we got like 300 AK-47s over here, but it's a crapshoot whether they work or not." And we had a guy who picked up all of them, and he was storing them extra dimensionally. And if it would not shoot, he would use it as a club or a thrown weapon, and then just grab the next one and keep going. And literally, the DM said, "Here's this unusable weapon," and he took it and said, "Okay, thank you."
I can see that. I like the image of someone running through the woods with a satchel full of AKs, just like hitting somebody with it and throwing it, sticking in their forehead, you know, like an axe. Like, I put bayonets on all of them.
Yeah, it's. I think a lot of them had bayonets. That's just kind of the way the campaign was going, but it's kind of fun. Just pick it up, keep going. I've also seen players who. Go ahead.
Always use everything I pick up. Sometimes, if it's more beneficial to another player, then I'll be like, "Hey, here you go."
This looks more like you, yeah.
Yeah, I always like that. Hey, you know, I could really use something stronger like this, but I can't use swords the way you can. You're the frontliner. Take it. You know, help me by killing everything else.
Yeah, it's not entirely uncommon to bargain for it too. Be like, "Hey, man, you want this? Like, I'll sell it to you cheap."
Mm-hmm.
And that promotes group cohesion and all that. But I've also gone down the other path where I've extorted my own group over their items. One of them crit failed an attack with their crossbow, so the string and everything snapped. Well, I was playing an artificer, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm a businessman," and his background was an entrepreneur. I'm like, "I know what it costs to make that repair. I will charge you 15% less, and I will repair it for you because I've got all the carpenter's tools. I can make that repair here in the field rather than us having to go all the way back to town." And the group had just met. We didn't know each other. We didn't trust each other. So reluctantly, he paid me to fix his crossbow. And I'm like, "All right." I walked to the other side of the carriage that we're escorting, and all the other party members stayed on the other side of the carriage. I'm like, "All right." I cast mending.
Yeah.
And the DM just looks at me, and all the other players look at me, and they're like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you don't see it happening. Roll perception there, Sparky." Failed perception check. And I'm like, "All right, mending's done. I fixed it for free. Here you go."
Yep. It's fixed.
Yeah.
I heard
Got your
a
weapon
buddy
back.
of
I don't
mine
want to hear it.
playing Shadowrun with a guy who was basically enchanter artificer type. And what the guy would do is he had no combat ability. All he could do is make cool things. And he would just pull up, "Hey, we're going to this fight," and he'd be like, "I have these bullets that seek out hearts, $1,000 a piece," and he would just provide weaponry to the party to go use. But it was always stuff that was like perfect for them. He got his cut from the fight by selling ammo and whatever to the rest of the party.
And that was that whole character. He was in it
Mm-hmm.
for the money. He wanted to get a business going. He needed money for that. These people provided money. He was going to get it one way or another.
Yeah. So
I guess
that's
from their end, it would definitely be a equipment horror story.
Oh yeah.
And just about everybody's played a rogue that pretty much steals everything. If you
Yes.
can pickpocket it, why wouldn't you?
We had a player that was supposed to join my campaign that was rolling up a rogue that was a thief. And I'm like, you can go right ahead and steal from everybody you see. And he's like, yeah. I said, but you're going to start finding stuff you don't want to find. And it may not always be just, oh, I have somebody's pocket watch and they're going to look for it. It could be a mimic, a cursed item. Like, you might get scammed. Like, somebody's trying to get rid of a sword that causes them to, like, slowly die every single day. And you're going to steal it. And since you willingly took it, you're taking the curse upon yourself. He's like, I don't like that. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's the risk you're going to play in my campaign. Like, nobody gets away free.
Now just imagine a rogue who does not take proficiency in stealth or sleight of hand.
Nado doesn't have sleight of hand, but he did stealth and intimidation
And persuasion.
and persuasion. Actually, I don't think he has proficiency in persuasion. He's just really good at it. Stupidly good at it.
Yeah.
So that kind of brings me to another point where what kind of things do your characters strive for? You know, you said the character, he was in it for the money. Uh, are there things where, you know, your characters are straight up looking for an item? Or is there something that you're looking for an item that you, for your character that your character doesn't necessarily know about, but you're like, you know what? I know this would help him out. If we see it, I definitely want it.
Oh yeah, I'm
If
always
I were to
shopping.
be min-maxing a character, I would look up items that I'd want, but I tend to try to avoid that so I don't be like, oh, I have to have this, and I'm going to start dropping hints to the DM that he needs to put this in his campaign because I just need it.
I mean, I found an item and I shot it right over to Jeremy. I'm like, yeah, Kura's looking for one of these.
Yeah, I saw it. I got no problem putting it in somewhere. Whether you guys find it,
That's fine.
who knows?
I don't care if I gotta
No, I
find
like
it
that
or if
one.
I gotta buy it, but
I actually found items for you that Goro would like that are even better than that one, that are in my random generator that may or may not drop somewhere.
We'll see. I think I'm always shopping for my character, but I'm not always sure what I'm shopping for. Like I'm
Mhm.
always looking through items, just kind of reading, and then I'm like, ooh, wait, I could use that. I could use that in a way people wouldn't expect, and it'll be awesome. And then, you set about looking for it, or
Now,
start
do you
shooting hits
shop
to the GM like, hey, drop
high-end?
this somewhere if you get a chance.
Do
It
you
depends on the
shop
character. Honestly,
high-end,
like
mid-tier, or low?
I shop all of it. Like I go
Oh,
all the way up. Like, or I'll come across a list with an item, and I'm like, ooh, that sounds interesting, and then I'll look up the price. I'll be like, that's something I'll tell Jeremy about. See if he just drops it in somewhere.
According to the article I read, it only costs 10 gold pieces, so it'd probably pop up anywhere. I only dropped like 6 zeros off the back of it. Of course, I drop stupid price things all the time, like an idiot. The last time they were playing, I was dropping a scroll, and so I just did a random scroll generator to see what would drop. And they're all level 5s, and I didn't pay attention to what spell levels were available. And I dropped a 9th level mass heal spell scroll for the team. I think that's the most expensive thing you guys have found yet.
oh, by far.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
I haven't even looked up
Yeah.
what that item would be priced at, and I don't want to.
No.
Now, is that like power word mass heal or the other one?
It just said mass heal.
Yeah, the spell is
Okay,
just
so it's-
mass heal, and you take
Yeah.
and generate a pool of 700 hit points to be distributed at your leisure.
See, now I'm putting you guys into situations where you're going to require everybody needs healing. I was explaining to somebody tonight, like they're going to use this spell and they won't have 700 hit points between them max, but they're going to need to use it in some fight.
Oh yeah.
Like you'll get yourselves into
We'll
a
see.
pickle somewhere. I won't even have to set it up. It'll be something accidental.
Yeah,
And we're
most
in a
likely.
dungeon where I can't tell you how many times we could have bottlenecked an encounter by simply not entering the room, and everyone charges into the room, and it's like, let them come to us.
Yes. Several times at least, you have not only run into the room, but you had one player who sounded the loudest dinner bell he could find. And then went
Without
to
even
find out
using
what
his
he
staff of
disturbed.
protocols.
Yeah. Gosh.
I
He
don't
needs
know
to
that.
use that staff more.
We were just fighting those.
Alex, we lost you.
Oh, it's not liking his internet right now. Is it storming?
Not that I know
You're
of.
just. I'm not very happy.
Hey, I think he's
Now
back.
you're back. Kind of.
Yeah.
It's gotten cloudy, so his satellite
Provider.
internet's dying.
But every time it
Amazing.
rains, it goes to crap.
Is
I
it
don't think
raining
it's
outside
just
right
you.
now?
Not that I've seen.
Your camera's starting to get a little choppy, Jeremy.
I know. I'm going to back out for just a second. If it'll let me. See if I can't refresh. I'll wait till he gets back in. As you
Okay.
probably can't hear any of that. I'm watching
I
my
can,
own camera glitch. Oh,
I was gonna say, I can hear you pretty well. It's just your camera's choppy.
let's see if I can back out without ending the stream.
Ooh,
I think as
experiment.
long as we stay in here,
Say what?
I think as long as one of us is in here, it won't end.
I think so too. All right, I'll be right back. Otherwise, we'll start a new stream.
Still going for now. Do I need to turn up my mic
Yeah.
gain, or am I good?
You seem pretty good. I can hear you well.
Okay. It's just my little bubble doesn't always seem to get a decent gray,
Ring around it. Yeah.
acknowledgement of me talking.
No, I can
Aha!
hear you pretty well.
I have claimed the top corner.
Hang on, I can fix this.
How dare you, good sir? Ah, I'm in the
You just
background.
scrolling through them.
I'm not sure why it has. Oh, I remember why. I created this layout as the "Hey, look at me."
Hey, look at me.
Yes, that's literally what it's titled. "Hey, look at me." I believe it was intended to be the DM "Listen to me talk now" screen.
No! Well, what was Alex saying? We brought up
Yes.
the dinner bell, and then he was starting to go down a tangent and just completely cut.
Oh, I was saying that was a fun fight though. It would have been pretty tedious if we'd have had to fight them 1 or 2 or 3 at a time. Like,
Oh yeah,
But
so-
we didn't get them all.
sure you did.
no, not the ones that ran off.
Yeah.
They probably fell into a trap somewhere and are re-dead.
Sure, bud. Sure. Let's go with that.
They're definitely not running through and rearming all the traps that you guys have gone through.
Haven't we
It's
only
been
gone
one
through like
trap.
one?
I mean,
Hey,
two,
I'd be down.
at least two.
I'd be down with getting another chest of gold out of there.
Oh no, now it's just it's an empty chest with a ballista bolt behind it now. You
Especially if
don't
it's
get to
got
dupe
another
it like a
few
video
hundred
game.
platinum pieces in it.
Yeah, it's now filled with gunpowder and a lit fuse. It's
That's
alchemist fire.
Yorlin will go for it.
He would
He'll be
too.
like, "Ooh, another chest. Let me hit it with my sword." Boom.
No, it would die and become beetles full of
It'd be like-
gunpowder.
Yes, yeah, it would too. That'd be hilarious. I'm
We
slaying
could take
the
them around
chest.
and throw them at the ground like those snappers.
Oh,
Just like bags full of beetles that were thrown at people's feet. Dance, monkey.
item horror stories provided to the DM.
Oh god, I don't need any more.
And that's how you take a simple item and you make it fun.
I like to write down. You guys go, well, at least it's not X, or good thing we haven't found any of these. And it's like, that would make a good item. Like that's taking down notes.
But
Oh yeah, always taking notes.
Yeah.
back
I-
to
I- Go ahead.
looking for items for our players. I definitely have a few in mind I would like to find,
hmm
and they're not. I don't shoot straight for legendary. They're more of the uncommon to rare variety.
hmm
So it's definitely a possibility they could be there somewhere. It's just finding them or the DM putting them in his campaign.
Well, I'm likely to put something randomly generated in that's way more powerful than it has a right to be.
Yeah.
But the big problem, I see with a character like, ooh, I want that legendary item is, okay, well, you're not going to be the only one looking for the legendary sword of awesomeness. Like,
The flaming sword of fire.
yeah. The flamer
thinking-
sword.
Like with Gura, I'm not so much looking for items per se. I was thinking about taking something that had more reach, so I got more use out of my sentinel.
hmm
But he's looking for like magic tattoos, or I have this idea of perhaps like getting his shell inlaid with the components to his spell, so he can use shield or like something. I haven't really come up with it all yet, but I really like the idea of that. So that's probably something he'll start trying to look into shortly.
Okay.
Yes, because the turtle needs a higher AC.
I also
Sometimes,
thought about
yes.
having armor made for him. Like, why wouldn't I? A turtle shell's only so hard, but if you wrap it in adamantine, like,
This mithril turtle
Yeah.
shell. It's just covered in mithril filigree.
No, he wants adamantine, so you can't crit him.
Oh,
That's the subtext of that armor. That's just gross.
that's fine. It'll be a death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
good luck. With the
Boiled
resistances of
turtle.
a barbarian, like, still resistance to cut damage. It'll have to be 200,000.
I will remind you of this.
Yeah,
I'm just reminding you.
I see it
Now he's
choking, choking
now he's
on
gonna give it
Gura.
a breath weapon.
Like, he's trying to swallow him whole, just stuck in there, stabbing him in the throat from the inside.
Yeah.
Those are the noises that our druid would make.
That's how he gets promotions.
Yeah. No, it's. Have you come across anything previously, stories, personal, whatever, where a DM keeps throwing a certain type of item to his players or just absolutely denies it to the players?
Not yet, but I have encountered the same creature over and over again in a campaign I think I played
Those were randomly drawn,
once.
Yeah.
except for one or two. What's it come up 3 times now?
3 or 4.
Yeah. There's at least one more out there.
And this one's specifically hunting us for all the other ones we've killed by proxy.
No, that'd be a better story. I've come for my slain brethren.
Just boar people showing up, so I hear you like to kill boars.
Yeah,
It's not that I like to, it's that they're ornery and come running at me.
They started it every time, I swear.
yes. I know. I think you're finally a high enough level that the last one can come out. We'll see how it goes.
Is his name Bebop?
No, it's Elder Boar. He only stands like 10 feet tall. Size of a cart.
I can say I've been in campaigns that magical items were rather plentiful,
Mm-hmm.
but for some reason potions and healing items were not.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a combat heavy campaign, so you'd think the healing items would be a bit more readily available as compared to most other magic items.
Yeah.
And now we're in a campaign where healing items are rather plentiful.
And so is the damage, but nobody uses the healing potions.
We just
Use
keep
them.
going out and taking short rests, and I do believe Gura and myself are sitting on half a dozen or so healing potions
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that
that's
just
like 6.
at
don't
least.
get used.
Yeah, healing, greater, and supreme.
We've used a few when we were out of hit die for short rests, but
Yes. There've been a few times where it's like if we don't have time to rest, and if anything catches us now, that's it.
Yeah. Well, we're going about clearing this dungeon in a very efficient way, though. We're not like
Oh yeah.
overextending ourselves and pushing it too far.
it's a
Yep.
lot of, all right, we've gotten into a few scuffles. Some of us are hurt. Some of us are a little exhausted. We've got some spoils. Let's drag it all back out. Take a breather.
Yeah.
Head
Well,
back
that's
in.
lunch.
Yep. Lunch took 8 hours to make, and now we're gonna have to do a long rest.
Yep.
Yeah. So how much do you think equipment should be broken? Not necessarily like it does more than it should, but like we've been using this rope so often, it's going to start fraying and destroying itself. You know, like our wagon is gone hundreds of leagues more than it should have. How
Yeah.
much do you think that should play into it?
If it's just standard items such as that, I definitely say that should start to play a
Mhm.
Break down.
factor.
Yeah.
The more that it's brought up, the more it's used. Uh, I can see the DM starting to roll behind the screen to see how much wear and tear an item that the group is relying on starts taking. And if the group isn't, then the DM can start taking note of, all right, they should be performing some like maintenance or
Yeah.
upkeep on these items. And if they're not, then it's going to get a higher chance of when they crucially
Yeah.
need it, it could fail or break, or a wagon wheel shatters, or the rope snaps while it's holding somebody.
I mean, right now you guys keep taking short rests or long rests, but what do you do for your gear? I mean, your armor, your clothing. Every time you get stabbed, that doesn't heal up.
Right. And this could be something brought up during an early session. Go, hey, uh, just so you know, I will be minding your guys's like items and standard gear. It could be prolonged if it was a magical
Mm-hmm.
artifact or item, but I would say for standard, especially if it's discussed beforehand. If it's just suddenly sprung on you, like, hey, you've taken 200 points of damage overall, and I know you've healed it all back, but your armor hasn't, so your AC drops by 4.
See, I kind of don't like the AC dropping. I kind of like the social response. Like, you guys get back to town finally after 3 weeks of campaigning, and while each of you can recall every little nick and cut, and you're used to it, like, oh yeah, that's where Gora got shot with an arrow. The people in town seeing you suddenly in tatters of clothing, like you just
Well,
slowly become used to it.
I don't wear clothes.
That's true. Your shell's looking a little scuffed. Everybody else is just
Armor's
threadbare.
disheveled,
Yeah.
underclothing is just shredded in tatters.
Yorlin's character rolled a critical failure, and one of it was something. Some of his gear was supposed to have broken, and he first jumped to a weapon. Uh, I kind of would have liked to see something more. Part of his armor breaks, not necessarily denying him his AC, because while that might make sense, he's kind of built up for his AC. But how is he going to respond to? Now he's got to get it fixed, but you're out in the middle of nowhere. Does he keep running with it until it maybe all falls apart? That was just personal. I don't really
No,
have
I
a
get
stake
that.
in it either way. I think breaking weaponry could be kind of the short or the easy path, because then all you got to do is kill something and take its sword.
Yeah, but I definitely break weapons on people.
Yes. You've also
Like,
broke people on people.
well, like,
Next question: are people items?
no.
That was a discussion solved long ago.
Hang
I
on.
think we're
Are
crossing
people
over here.
are people equipable items?
I don't think that's better. I saw the South
Oh.
Park movie.
Which South Park episode? Sentai Pad?
I was thinking of bigger, longer, and uncut. But I think if you have to improvise a weapon, anything could be used.
Yes.
Like, if you're strong enough or intelligent enough, or if you just happen to be magically locked to a creature.
Yes.
I mean, then one could argue he had been equipped
See?
Yeah.
I didn't do this. I'm just calling you out.
on your shenanigans.
At
Hey,
which
man.
point do you utilize your teammates? At which point do you use your teammates?
Well, in my case, it wasn't a teammate, but
Oh well. He was a bit of a tool.
you're the one that gave me gloves that lock onto stuff but have no release command.
Yes. I did. There's your I'm not sure if it's a horror story for the players or the DM at this point. I kind of would have liked to see that item fail on your grabs a bit more. And all of a sudden you're grabbing the wrong thing.
Oh, that could be painful.
I mean, it was
Yes.
pitched as, oh, you won't be able to be disarmed, or you'll have advantage on disarming strikes. And it turned into, I grab him by the throat and lock.
Yes. I ride this Hydra like a rodeo bull.
Hey, man, there's no such thing as dirty fighting in a fight. It's just
No.
fighting.
Wasn't that the big scene in Game of Thrones where, hey, you didn't fight without, or you fought without honor? Yeah, but he did and he lost. Like,
Yeah, he did and he's dead. Who's that problem?
yeah. Yeah. No, I've definitely put out some items into your group that's like, oh yeah, here's a cool way to use it, and then it's just abused usefully some other way, which is bad. I don't do it.
I just saw my new title.
Finally.
Oh. Look
Ha
at him.
ha ha. Funny.
No, I'm pretty excited to get started and actually playing this.
Yes.
Uh, I talk about it a lot at work with John, and I need to figure out a way to format it. I have like, I don't know, 10 or 11 different save files with information everywhere, and I need to put it in a format so everybody has like the knowledge they would know. I mean, they grew up in the world; they should have more knowledge of it. Oh, sorry, it's off topic of equipment. It was just a thought I
No,
was
actually,
having.
it brings up a good point. As we have one player here, the GM and the DM, how are we looking to put equipment into this campaign? Because I was kind of looking to do, that this high octane, lots of action or lots of danger, and danger should be rewarded.
Yeah.
Maybe you find a +1 dagger at some point after a couple sessions.
Oh yeah, we definitely need to get down to some of that. I have some ideas, but I need to talk to each of the players to like work it out
Okay,
to weave them into the backstory. And I don't want to give anything away yet.
yeah. No, I like that. That's good. I also kind of like the way that this campaign is a three-way campaign. It's like GM versus DM, DM versus players, GM versus players,
Yeah.
and no side knows all the details. It's gonna be like, what? Oh, I
And the
guess.
players know the least.
Yes. Well, that's a given. That's our banner. And the players know the least. Um, Cursed
Oh,
items. Do you use cursed items? Is it
apparently.
something that you can? I mean, technically, those gloves are cursed. Those gauntlets, because you can't let them go. It's not like a major curse. It's not like they
Yeah, I think there's
suck
a
your
time
life
limit,
point.
but yeah.
It's a minute. They hold on for a minute. Should have made it an hour.
Say it could definitely depends on what the curse is.
Mm-hmm.
If I would, as a player, would consider using it,
Mm-hmm.
and then it would be up to would the character be willing to use a cursed item if they know for one it's cursed, or if they don't know it's cursed, would they be willing to risk a unknown magical item?
Yeah. Uh, One thing you guys have already gotten some of is potions, random potions that aren't just healing, aren't just like giant strength or something. You've got a couple just oddballs that you've picked up. Do you try to sell them? Do you use them at some point? Yeah, they're not all easily identifiable. Not all the attributes have been identified. I think I saw one potion. So I'm not. I think you might have skipped over it, but like once you drink it, your hair turns white. It has a positive benefit, but one side effect is your hair turns white permanently.
Oh man, the horror. Half our
Yeah,
party doesn't have hair.
yeah, at least half. I'm trying to think. The Ganassi is the only one that might have hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, would you twist that to be the Dragonborn's scales turn white?
No, but I would consider he grows hair and now it's white. Like
Because
he's
that would be altering their attribute of their breath weapon and resistance.
ooh no, no, leave it exactly as it is. But everybody assumes they are not a white dragon. Wait a minute, you can't have fire breath. You're a white dragonborn. That's racist. That's colorist.
You could win some bar bets with that.
Yeah.
Oh, now we've got the hustle on. Oh, he's a white
No,
Dragonborn.
I'm
Clearly
thinking
he's
more.
got this breath weapon.
It's gonna come up as more of a bouffant that you can't get rid of. Like every time you shave it off, it's back in like 2 hours.
Oh, so we're playing either you're going the
It's
route of
only back
DBZ hair or the Santa Claus.
Yes. Yeah. And that's if somebody actually drinks it. What would you like to see as a player and as a character in potions like that? Do you want to see the other members of your team drinking them? Would you drink them? Like, yeah, I get like 15 hit points back, but I also can't see colors right for the next 2 hours. Is it worth the trade-off?
I mean, if the side effects are what could be argued as benign, I wouldn't see why not. And I could definitely see a couple of the characters in the group we're talking about just going, and swigging it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At which point is your character willing to drink any liquor that's put in front of them, but not the potions?
I would
Just
say
about any point.
for Gura, yeah, I could see anything. With the track record that my character's getting when it comes to liquor, he's at the point of never again and sticking to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think every time I've tried either liqueur or firewater, I've failed on the first or second throw instantly and have been blacked out.
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, he's not a drinker, and it's just not gonna happen.
He's just going to get plastered on tea. Can you believe the caffeine in this?
I'm
We're
not
gonna
gonna
replace all
sleep
the
for
water
hours.
with liquor. He's gonna be like, God damn it.
So, how detrimental would something have to be for you to label it as cursed? Or would it just be like quirky, or it's got some weird drawbacks?
I
I'm drawing a blank too, so you can go ahead.
no, I had one. I just thought you were gonna go first,
Oh.
but I can see the magical wizard cowboy hat that my character currently has but isn't wearing having this negative drawback because I had another item that had it. There was it was a cursed item that gave me a plus to hit on my spells, but because it was a cowboy-like hat, I had to speak in a southern draw, or I did not get its benefits.
There is an amulet that I was recommended to put in the campaign that gives you a fairly large bonus on your spell casting, but it tells you which spell to cast, and if you do not cast that spell, you then get disadvantage on a bunch of stuff temporarily.
Oh,
Yeah, that'd be irritating.
Yes.
especially if the situation doesn't call for that spell.
Yes. Why do you keep casting web? It tells me to. I can't help it. Just webbing everything. It's the amulet's favorite spell is web.
I can't cast web. Do it anyways. I can't. I physically can't. I want you to cast it.
I tried to cast web, just a puff of smoke came out.
Now you got your wizard firing blanks, and it's just going tragic.
I
Sentient.
don't know. Oh, I was gonna say, like, I think the fun curses, are a lot better, but it's really great sometimes when someone picks up a cursed item and they don't realize it till it's basically intertwined itself with them. You know what I mean? Those sentient items are the things that have their own agenda and they start acting out through the character. As long as the character's cool with it, because at some point you got to stop and have that conversation. Listen, this is cursed and this is what it's trying to do to you. Are you going to be able to roleplay that, or should we find a different way to make it work?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you okay with me kind of hijacking your character every now and then, or whatever? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's a lot more fun to put the silly curse stuff in.
I like the really subtle things, the slow changes. I didn't realize this was happening Those always intrigue me more as the DM. Not necessarily of guiding the players, but just like a little bit of you feel like somebody's
Nudges.
always looking over your shoulder, and it's because that item doesn't want to be stolen again. It gets tired of going from owner to owner. Everybody who picks it up gets stabbed in the back, so now you're just getting paranoid that there's something always behind you. Added into your perception rolls that no, you get the sense that somebody's looking at you, but you can't quite see them, and just let it build over time.
Watch them roll like a 26 perception. You're not quite sure where they are. How?
Yeah,
How am I not sure?
yeah. It's the monocle of anatodophobia.
And you could put it on an item that they just have to use because the benefits so far outweigh any of the potential and currently seen risks.
Or put it on something exceptionally benign. You didn't realize that you picked up cursed socks. Like
You've
you,
been using a cursed toothbrush every morning, and it's slowly been seeping into
it actually causes cavities.
you.
How dare you?
Yeah, impugn that a player will brush his teeth as a character.
How dare you make me waste more gold at the dentist?
It just slowly crowns all your teeth the more you brush. Your smile's getting really bright lately. I know, right? Until you start breaking your crowns when you bite something.
I can definitely see using cursed items, but especially if I got it identified and the curse was identified, depending on what the curse was, I can see my character going, I'll pass.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that too. I definitely had stuff where I would use something, but if I don't have to, I won't. Alex, you got to get out of here.
Yeah, I gotta go get some stuff done. It's
Go.
great talking to you guys.
We have lives.
Super excited, and I will
Yes.
see you guys soon.
All right.
Alright.
Thank you, bud. And now that he's gone, we discussed the really fun items.
Oh yeah, all the good
Oh.
ones.
There's so many of them. Uh, no, there's definitely your party has found magic items that you haven't even identified yet, and you're just toting them around. You could be carrying around the proverbial atomic bomb and not even know.
Yeah, we've still got those two wands,
Yep.
the staff, but
Hmm.
you and I out of game know what the staff is.
Right.
The magical hat that my character has, the magical quiver that my character has.
Yep.
I don't remember if there's anything else. I don't have my list in front of me, but that could just continue to grow as we work through
Yeah.
this dungeon.
Yeah. I mean that the quiver. You might be holding on to it, not know what it is. Find a bag of holding and put it in, and find out that oh wait, that was an extra dimensional space. Blam. End of campaign, and the
Yeah,
dungeon.
that would be bad.
Right. So with like that in mind, how pivotal is it to identify items? Because you're picking up a veritable arsenal of things now, and I hate to just rely on this one campaign, but you've been in this dungeon for two long days of searching. You found a whole bunch of stuff, and you have not assessed any of it.
And that's one of the downsides of not having a character in the party who could accurately assess and identify items while you're out in the field.
Mm-hmm.
We would have to go back to a location where somebody could, and that would take time and travel. And we're currently like, we're not going to leave this location until we're done. So
Yeah.
while it could be beneficial, it's also definitely a risk for the party in case we do either stumble across something that's cursed and begin using it and become cursed ourselves, or, like you said, put two items together that really shouldn't be put together.
Yeah. Well, one thing you guys have found is a lot of money. You're veritably rich right now. I mean, you're not retirement rich, but you've had a fair windfall. Would your party ever consider hiring on an assessor to bring along, like an accountant who can also identify items?
I hadn't really thought of the possibility, but
I
if
thought of
we
it.
were to get if we were to get enough funds and also start accruing a exorbitant amount of magical equipment while out on tasks or missions from the guild or while exploring dungeons,
Hmm.
it definitely would start to be more and more beneficial to be like, all right, I need these things that we just brought back, looked into, however long it's going to take you, because if it's detrimental, I don't want it to, cause issues, or if it has extra planar capabilities, I don't want to throw it in the bag of holding and get us all sucked into the astral plane.
Yeah. You could always hire squires or pages, a tag along. Be like, hey, run this back to town and report back to me with what it is. There's always going to be risks of somebody jumping you and stealing what you have. You sent it away and they found it while you're gone. I think right now you guys have played a safe kind of middle ground.
Hmm.
But I don't think anybody's found anything that they've had a death grip on yet. That's like, I
No.
have to use this. And there's stuff that you've held valuable that you're like protecting, but nothing
There's
it's like,
definitely not been any one item that a certain character in the party is like, this is mine, and if you touch it, we will have problems.
mm-hmm.
Which is good. That means the group's working well together. And I hope if we ever do come across items where either say one or more people are like, I seriously need this, we can compromise through it rather than having it come to hostile exchanges.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, how fast can a party get split over equipment? How serious of an equipment has to be before you split? You know, if you have two fighters, each has a sword that broke, who gets the new one? How often do you just use hobgoblin or what are they, bugbear maces to go fight people?
Yeah. I would have to say it would almost have to be of like the extra rare or almost legendary quality before I would consider a party coming to almost player versus player hostility over an
Mm-hmm.
item. But if say you had a really bad uh combat scenario and a couple people crit failed and they got unlucky and their weapons are either damaged or totally broken, and now you've got people who have no means for combat, and you find that one magical weapon, like even if it's just a +1, I can see that coming to be like, hey, I need it more, or no, I need it more. And it's like, all right, well, can the party come to the point of uh the paladin or the fighter should get it, and then the next one we get will go to the other person, even if it's better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a tough call. I can see, scenarios where one player keeps taking all the magic items or all the useful things, and you can make a case for it of, hey, I could really use that, or I could really use this, until eventually everybody realizes that they've been taking everything. I can see it coming to a head, not necessarily violence, but hey, character, you need to lay off, share a little bit. And if you've got a character that takes everything, they're not going to respond well to that.
No, and I think that could push a group into hostility quicker if there's one character that just seems to be hoarding magical items
Mm-hmm.
and everyone else in the group is just getting left to the wayside when they've just got still their standard starting equipment. They might start to resent that one player who just seems to be like, no, I need it more, I need it more. And it's like, you have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different items and you haven't used half of them yet. Share the wealth, split it amongst the group, allow everyone to start to be prosperous. It might help in the long run. It could definitely benefit in finding more magical items or in combat. You never know. And if you have that type of scenario where one person's just hoarding it all to themselves like a dragon, I can definitely see, especially in larger groups, the others talking amongst themselves and just going, either you share or you're done.
Yeah. Yeah. To disastrous results. Kind of makes
Because,
me.
like
Go
we
ahead.
said, action economy is very crucial. And even if you have all of the super janky magic items, if you only get one turn and then you're looking at 5 or 6 other turns of just hostility against you, that tide will break your wall.
Yeah. Easily. Um, I'm reminded of a story in my past, not with that, but kind of brought it up. But have you seen somebody misuse an item so long that everybody just kind of didn't realize it was misused until one moment you're like, wait, you've had this the whole time? Why weren't you using this? I know in your campaign, there's a guy who has it's a detachable rod of whole immovable rod. It's two of them, and he has them put together as a staff, and he's just walking around with it, using it to hold his hammocks.
In our campaign,
Yep, he's used it twice. Otherwise, he just keeps forgetting about it, which is fine. It doesn't break his character at all. Uh,
I the only person I know of with a staff is the one with the staff of birdsong. I don't think anyone else has mentioned they have a staff.
yeah, that's his second staff. He brought it up early on uh, because he pulls it out and he literally hangs his hammock on it whenever you guys don't have a house to stay in.
That was the staff he put away to take the staff of birdsong.
Yep.
Oh, Lord help me. Why would you give me this information? I had overlooked it because I didn't realize that's what he was doing.
Because it's hilarious. So you're kind of answering my question now. So what does Arvin do when he realizes that Shamael has some stupidly powerful magic item
And
that
he's
actually
using it for
has
benign purposes?
yes. Is there anything wrong with using it for benign purposes?
No, but when there's other uses you could be using it for and he's just not, that's when it becomes a problem.
Yep. I don't think you guys have come across anything he needed to use it for. I've seen a few times where he could have used it and it would have worked out really well for him. Uh, Especially because he's a cleric who keeps using a large shield and people just keep bashing into it. If it were me, I'd put it behind the shield and activate it when somebody comes running at me.
That's such a good idea.
It's kind of why I gave it to him. But he's a new player and I didn't spell out exactly what it was. I told
Or
him what
how
it
it could
did.
be used or implemented.
Yep, I told him what it was. What he's initially using it for was to hang his hammock, and told him that was not the limit of it. It's just something that these rods cannot be moved once they're put in place until you speak the command word. I think I put buttons on them instead of a command word. So he just
That
hits the
would be
button at the end
probably
of it.
why I didn't realize it, because it's supposed to be a command word, and instead he's
Mm-hmm.
just clicking buttons, and I'm like, weird, but okay.
Yeah.
That's how you probably fooled most of the group that's knowledgeable on magical items. They're like, those items don't have buttons, so it can't possibly be those items. But it...
Where, where does it say they can't have buttons?
Okay, those items typically don't have buttons, so it couldn't possibly be those items that I'm thinking of that are super useful in an innumerable amount of scenarios.
Yes. Yep. I mean, like one possibility is you could put it in the chest of loot that you just found, put it at the bottom, activate it, refill the chest, and walk away. And anything who wants what's in is going to have to take it out item by item, or they won't be able to pick it up. Or when you were walking across the trees on that waterway where you killed the Hydra, and everybody was like falling in and unstable.
Could have used the 2 rods to make a rope line that wouldn't move.
Or just a handrail.
If it would have been long enough, yeah.
How about blocking in the doors to the dungeon so nothing can come behind you?
I hate that you've shared this knowledge with me,
Yeah.
because now it is very quickly becoming a horror story. Now that I'm thinking about all the different scenarios where he could have used 2 immovable rods,
So
and he
I
just
bring this up
hasn't.
because I actually was the guy misusing it. Wasn't a role playing game, it was actually the game True Human, a video game. And I played a character, my first character, you get a rifle and a grenade. And I'm like, oh, cool, I'm using it. And then I got hooked on a character that used pistols. And I'm doing run throughs with my buddy, and we're doing just high end run through after run through after run through. And I said, it just sucks that this character doesn't get a grenade because then your left trigger is useless. And my buddy goes, it's not useless. That's where your second pistol is. I'm like, what do you mean second pistol? And I've been doing the run throughs with half my weapons. Literally, we went from doing like a 20-minute run through to like a 5-minute run through. And we could have been doing it for weeks. So I've been on that receiving end of, oops, I could have done a little bit more with that. Guru with those gloves could be doing the same thing too, similar. We need to hold the door closed. He could just grab both sides of the door frame and it won't budge for a whole minute.
Yeah. Or have a giant improvised shield.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like if Shamael hadn't smashed the iron door open, he could have walked up, grabbed it on either side, removed it from its hinges, and then he just has a giant metal shield.
Battering ram, cow pusher, whatever you want to use it for.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Like we said, there's definitely some magic items you guys haven't identified yet. There's some some of them are fairly mundane, but they have very practical uses.
I feel as if there's been a few times where we've asked the group, what all do we have? And those have just not been brought up because I don't even think he realizes it's technically classified as a magical item.
Yeah.
He just sees it as 2 little sticks he can hang his hammock from.
Yep. While he eats his finger foods. I'm just going to keep giving him the broken stuff and he'll just forget about it.
I cannot give this information to Yorlin because the first thing he's going to do is forcibly remove that staff from his person.
Oh man, that player conflict that would start after that, the characters would just brawl.
Yeah. Because it's going to be like, I know the first words I'm gonna get are, he has what? Oh, he's got 2 immovable rods.
Mm-hmm.
Where did he get those? It was that staff he started with. Are you kidding me? Sadly, no.
Yep.
He's losing it. He's losing that as a magical item. It's not his anymore. It's mine.
I don't know. I think you almost have to tell him because then his character doesn't know. And just let him suffer.
Oh my lord. There's been so many just mundane scenarios, not even just conflict scenarios, just mundane scenarios where those would have come in so handy.
Mm-hmm.
And now we could technically make the argument, you've got your other staff now. Can we have that one? Can the group have your primary staff that you're not using?
Well, why take it? Why not just have him do all the stuff?
Because it wouldn't come to him.
That's true. You're a team. Tell him.
None of us knew he had it. And you just relished in this info.
If you think that's all I've been relishing in, there are other items that you guys have. I don't want to say they're necessarily like more powerful, but just like the effect they would have on the gameplay are just spectacular. And it's just in somebody's back pocket.
Because I'm guessing it's unidentified that we haven't used yet.
Either unidentified or misunderstood.
Oh, Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're going to make me want to just note everybody's equipment. And I'm going to be like a ledger where it's like, I don't care what it is. If it's on your character sheet in the equipment tab, tell me what it is.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's also things you have that are completely mundane that until you get into certain situations will do nothing other than be an object. Whether it's a way to get you past a certain uh, lock of some sort, of something that's barring your entrance, or how do we trigger this, or does it have importance to these people? It means nothing to you guys. You're just sitting on it.
Now I feel like I have to go through the notes of all the miscellaneous random items we picked up from that very first dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
All the ones that you painstakingly read out.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, I hope I wrote them all down.
Mm-hmm.
Because if somebody else didn't write it down, then it's just lost.
I have them written down. I think it would cost you guys a pretty penny to get them read back to you. So that's the wrong button. Here we go. Yep. Yeah, there's definitely a few items in there that you guys have done nothing with because they're not magical. So you had them looked at. You looked at it.
You're,
magic, and there was nothing.
You've gone super robot.
How about now?
Nope. It's that sped up robot that we were having last time at the end.
Am I still going?
You're good now.
Okay. I have to remember just to remove myself and then enter again. I opened a window like an idiot. Yeah, no, there's definitely things you found that they're items of insignificance, except for one scenario. And I don't expect you to hold on to them the whole time. You may never come across that scenario. It was a random item with a random scenario.
Mm-hmm.
2 items, though, that you guys identified were an abandoned tower, or the deed to an abandoned tower and the deed to a small property, and nobody, you guys have them, and that's all you've done with them, is we have them.
Did we have them looked into as to where they would be, or did we
Yep.
like?
You asked the guild, your guild contact, what they were, and he's got addresses for you. They're even marked off on the main map.
We just haven't gone there yet.
Mm-hmm. I don't even think you've talked to him again since you asked him to look into it.
I think that was. Can you look into these? We're gonna go look for this dungeon.
Yep. And there's a few things that you guys haven't done. You asked him to look into the dragon. You asked him to look into these addresses and just a few other little details. And then you've just been so busy wandering around that nobody's gone back to ask him anything. He's got a lot of information for you.
Oh, I bet.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was decided, I guess, non-verbally, that we'd go back once we had found and cleared this location.
Yep. Yeah. Horror
We're
stories.
gonna go back and we're just gonna drop a chest of items and be like, "We need these identified. What'd you find out?" And he's gonna be like,
I assume you're going to go back to the shop you got the last stuff identified from.
Well, we got the potions identified from the shop, but we had the
Mhm.
guild identify the magical items.
Did he?
Yeah, because
I
we
don't
turned them in
remember
with the
offhand.
guild. That was the way we identified. We turned it in with the
Oh,
guild,
yeah.
paid for the identification services, and then he's like, "It'll take a day," because obviously it was at the end of the day.
Yep.
He's like, "Come back tomorrow about midday, and they should all be done."
Which items did you get identified?
That was when we got the gauntlets, the rings, and those crystals. I think it was just the items that they pulled from the well.
Oh,
That was all
yep.
that we had at the time. Those were the only magical items we had.
That wasn't even a guild contact. That was just a guy in a town that you paid off. That was a while ago. That was
Yeah, and we hadn't found anything worth identifying since then. And now we've got wands, a quiver, staves.
to be fair, actually, this is on you. You asked. You did a magical search, detect magic on the party, and I listed off everything that had a magical aura, including that staff. But you focused on the rings and the gauntlets.
I overlooked his staff.
Mm-hmm.
I know
Yep.
I focused on the rings and the gauntlets at the crystals. That's what they said they pulled out of the well. I was like, I'm looking at these
Yep.
specifically to see if they're magical. I overlooked anyone's previous brought in items.
That's your own bias. That's not my fault.
Mm-hmm. Sure it is.
This is what I live off of.
Giving new players really useful rare magic items.
No, just letting the team suffer.
Yeah. One at a time, too.
Yeah. Yeah. I separate you. Never split the party. You should have learned that.
Yeah. I'm gonna let Shamael go off on his own and see what happens.
Yes.
I specifically take the staves off his corpse. Don't you have those diamonds for Revivify? Oh no, it's been over a minute. Shucks.
Yeah. He's just counting 59, 60, 61.
You know what the bad part is? Shamael's level 5 too.
Yep. So he can do it.
Also cast Revivify.
Yeah.
And we found 6 diamonds on top of the one that we just found. So
Yep.
we have enough to do Revivify twice.
Yeah, that's actually something I need to revisit one of the rooms because I think I didn't read everything off. You know, and there's a part of me that is the DM is like, I don't want to keep giving you everything. But at the same point, if I don't give it to you, like you just can't do stuff. And where's the fun in that? You'd be
Right.
much better off doing stupid things that, you know,
You would
bring yourselves
find,
to ruin.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that you would get enjoyment out of player suffering.
Yes. Yeah.
And I mean, the more wealth and opulence you throw at a group, the more you can test their cohesion and the rigidity of their bonds, and you get to see if a player's greed starts to seep into their character, or if their character has innately greed built into them, and if they will start to hoard and secretly stash some of these items to benefit themselves rather than the group. Like with Celero, he had in his character uh somebody who had lived impoverished and didn't know any level of wealth, and now he's suddenly in a group that's finding hundreds if not thousands of coins.
Yeah.
Denomination in his eyes doesn't matter, and then they're also finding jewels and precious gemstones and
Yep.
magical items right after meeting them, and it's
And
like
everybody
I'm
else
the
is excited with these items, but they've all said, we're just going to put them together for now. We'll deal with it later. And his character's like, this is all I've ever had.
right,
This is
and
more than I
it's
could have
like
ever thought of.
and it's just like I'm the new guy. I just joined. I don't know if they trust me enough yet to get me cut in on this stake, and they haven't said
Yeah.
anything about it. So I'm gonna take a little bit of what I can in case I don't get any of the horde that they're growing. And we had to have like a two character development, like heart to heart. The characters were discussing where they were getting like growing their bonds with this newbie essentially, and going,
Hmm.
No, we were already of the assertion that you were a part of this cut. You're a part of the group. You helped establish, find, and collect this wealth. You will get your fair share. Don't stress about it. Don't worry about it. And he's like, I wasn't sure. And it's like, well, I guess it's on us for not making it clear. You may not be a part of the guild, but you're still a part of this group. You've fought
Hmm.
alongside of us. You've bled alongside of us. You will get your fair share of the spoils. We can promise you that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Uh, he might be a character, though, that finds something rare and unique that he doesn't share with the team just in case. He's always got that reservation now.
Right. And I guess it would be on us to not only notice this, but also continuously push this. Oh, what am I looking for? Uh, Reinforce this uh camaraderie and inclusion in the group. Like, no, we don't care what you say about the guild or how you feel about it. You will be a part of our group. Whether you decide to join the guild or not doesn't matter. So long as you're with us, you will be included. You will be uh, considered. You will get your fair split of everything we pull from, whether it be a dungeon or uh, a keep or any of our missions. I think at one point Gura even said you'll get a cut of the guild payout as well. That doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens once you guys get back with the guild. Uh, how much do they let him get away with being a bystander, and how much do they force him in or out?
And I mean,
'Cause-
even if they say, "Oh, he's not a part of the guild, he can't be in like the
Right.
meeting area," we'll be like, "Okay, fine. Just know everything we're told here, we will be relaying to him, or we don't even have to. I guess we wouldn't even have to ascertain that to the guild. We could just be like amongst ourselves. He's part of our group. He's getting all the information we get, and he's getting a fair portion of the gold we get.
Mm-hmm.
Whether the guild likes it or not, the guild doesn't have to know.
Right? They don't.
Which I
Uh,
feel as if would be the better play.
yeah. Now you've already got perceived tensions going with the guild, and he hasn't even come up at all.
Right. And I think, what was it? Yorlin and Shamail were like, it could be interesting having a agent outside of the guild's restrictions
Mm-hmm.
to just in case we need to do something that the guild may or may not approve of. We can just be like, all right, Celero, go do this for us, for the group.
Sure.
Go talk to this person that the guild doesn't want us interacting with.
Yeah. And you'd be scot-free on that. I don't know that Celro's the one who can do it, though. He's not devious or conniving enough to take on the other people. I think he's
Well,
just too earnest. You have to train him up.
corrupt him a bit.
Mm-hmm. Break him in.
He's so young and malleable. A true clean slate of an adventurer.
Yeah. He is too, and it's good. Yeah, I think Shamail is the only character that I actually had a hand in making. Otherwise, everybody probably would have gotten something. And that's not against you guys, but nobody asked, can I have this item? Can I do this? I think he said
And
he'd never made anything before. So he asked me to make one for him. And I'm like, all right. And I'm going to give you these 2 or 3 things. This is what they do. Okay.
most of my characters that I've created have been for campaigns that start at level 1, and we
Mhm.
were already explicitly told you're just getting starter equipment.
Ooh,
So I
that's
guess
not a bad idea.
it hadn't even crossed my mind to ask if I could have a few, like 1 or 2 mundane magical items
Mm-hmm.
at level 3. It's just like, I get the starter equipment, and that's all I get because it's a brand new campaign.
Yeah. We didn't get too far past that. It was mostly like you've been adventuring for a little while, doing odd jobs. So there's no reason you couldn't have found something or purchased it.
Right. And this being one of the few campaigns where I rolled a character past level 1 to start, I guess it just didn't cross my mind to look at the potential of equipment beyond the bare starter equipment.
So is the equipment important to Arvin at that point? Like, we're kind of coming full circle here back to the equipment. Like, does Arvin feel that he needs to have something magical, or is it just a bonus?
I would say at this point it's definitely a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
Having started with just, I guess, standard starter fare armor and weapons, anything that would elevate him beyond that would definitely be considered a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's to the point where he would hoard it or try to keep it from the group. But again, if it's more beneficial to him over the others, he'd definitely argue his case. And anything that elevates him or the group in general above just standard equipment is definitely seen as valuable. But again,
Yeah.
there's that trade-off of if it is cursed and the curse is more detrimental than the benefit, then he'll voice his opinion on that too.
Yeah. That's good. There's a few
Especially
items
if
out there.
I was gonna say, especially if the curse is blatant. If it's a subtle curse, then it might not get caught right away.
Oh, yeah. No, you guys would be oblivious. It would be like too late for you to notice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's already done. It's insinuated itself in. I was watching somebody's campaign where the guy had a soul stealer sword that everybody he killed, it gained more power. And I thought it'd be interesting to do that, but like once it gets enough power, it switches souls with you. You've now been overtaken by this weapon, and you the original character, is trapped inside this weapon with no way to get out. See how long it takes the party to catch on that you've had a personality shift. Like you didn't think it would come at a price, that your weapon got stronger every time you killed something.
Oh, that's twisted.
Welcome to my DMing.
Now, here's a question. Who in the group do you think currently has the highest body count?
Ooh. Ooh, that's a good question. I think for the longest time it was Yorlin as the paladin. If we're going, since everybody's been together, but I'd say overall it's probably got to be Arvin, just because of all the characters you were killing before you got together as a party, all the random boars you got into fights with.
And I mean, even when the party got fully together, how many times would it just be like barely alive after Gura
Yes.
or Yorlin hits it? And I'm like,
Yeah.
Toll of the Dead, Toll of the Dead, Spirit
Yes.
Weapon. And it's just like,
One
would you
damage.
stop?
Yes, I believe that's said a few times of stop stealing my kills.
And this would be especially detrimental because I know there's rules in campaign settings where the only person who got the experience from the monster is the one who killed it. And it's like,
Yep.
how far ahead in levels would Arvin be from the rest of the group if it was played off by that? And then have seen arguments where that's a very, very bad way to play, because if you have support classes, they will severely struggle to level, and you'll
Yeah.
have characters who begin to snowball. And
Yeah.
then that snowball becomes pretty much an avalanche because they're so much higher level that they're almost guaranteed kills. Because their damage output just dwarfs what the other characters are even capable of.
Yes. That's kind of why I like the way I level up. It's not the best. It's just the way I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like, although I can see it, the set points. You know, where you get to your milestones. All right, you've done this part of the quest. I can't do that because I don't have this part of the quest for you to do. I just like to see the role play. You know, as long as you're actually role playing out.
Mm-hmm. And it's fun because a lot of our inter-character roleplay always seems to happen when you step away to get a drink. It's
Yeah.
like that's when one of the characters comes to the group with a question or a concern about their character, and then we rally around it and answer in our own characters' ways of tackling the problem or the question. And then you come
Yes.
back right as we're wrapping it up, and it's like, man, you just missed a lot of character growth.
There's a part of me that says I just need to say I'm stepping out for a minute, muting and just sitting here and listening in. But I think that's dirty as a DM. But there's a part of me as a DM that just says, just step back and let it happen. You know,
Right.
I don't have to drive the story. I'm here to let the characters tell the story and just give them the means to do so. All right. We have about used up our time that we've allotted ourselves. Any final thoughts regarding equipment?
I think we've covered it pretty well,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. Both to what players would be looking for, what DMs primary ideas for equipment in their campaign, and then if they have anything added by the players. Importance of equipment, yeah.
What's the importance of listing off to your team everything you have? He's never hit what he
I can't
has.
even I can't even put into words how just, even if you're not asked, just being like, "Hey, I've got these things that are magical. Would that be helpful?" is just immeasurably important.
You know
Because
what you
even
need
if
to
you're
do?
not 100% sure of what it is or how it works, someone else might be.
You should very subtly at some point just randomly be like, "Hey, Gora, you got that staff that you use to hold up your hammock? Yeah. Hey, you should try using it like this." And just let him do it and don't tell everybody else. Just let it happen semi naturally.
Oh, I think the moment it clicks in some of the other guys' brains what those items actually are is the moment you're going to hear a lot of people go, "Are you shitting me?"
Uh, I'm pretty sure Alex knows that he has it. He just doesn't care. Like Gora doesn't care. That doesn't mean anything to him. He's just happy that his friend has something, you know. But yeah, I can see Yorlin just breaking.
Oh yeah, it would definitely shatter it, not only his like resolve and trust in Shamael, it would make it so he probably never trusts him again with any like highly impactful magical equipment because it just disappears onto his back or satchel and it's never to be seen again.
Yep.
And it was definitely that scenario we talked about earlier where some characters will be like, "Man, I really don't have a use for this," and they put it away and it just gets lost in their character sheet. And then there's definitely other players in the group who will be like, "That would be very useful right now," or "I definitely have a use for that."
Yep. And this won't be the last time it happens. I'll guarantee it. You guys have already found magical things that one person or the other would have found a great use for. It's not necessary. It's not detrimenting the team. And I'll guarantee you're going to find more. You'll find something that somebody just kind of clips onto their belt and doesn't realize what it does or what it could have done.
Which again lays out the growing importance of having at least one character who could or can identify items while you're away from locations that could, because that's another thing. A DM doesn't technically have to make mass available identification.
No.
So you could be sitting on magic items for sessions upon sessions and not having a clue on what they actually or fully are
Yeah.
capable of.
You could be using an axe for months in game before you realize it's magical and all you had to do was attune to it.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. The
But
one character that has detect magic ready has only used it twice in game.
two or three times.
Yeah, fairly minimal. Yeah, it's at least three times because you
Because
checked out
it's
the hat trying to figure out what it was.
yeah, and I can't say how many times it'd be like I would use it, but that would require me to move hastily through these rooms,
Yeah.
and we still don't know what all's here. So I think it's gonna fall more along the lines of once we've pretty much cleared the dungeon, I might suggest going back through using detect magic to see if there's anything we may or may not have missed,
Mm-hmm.
such as like items and or hidden passages.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, you've got one guy with detect traps. Although I don't like the way detect traps works in this
It
edition.
it definitely should be a duration rather than instantaneous. But
Yeah.
I can see that also making the arcane trickster rogue more broken than it already is. Because if you had a duration detect traps on a rogue that could almost instantaneously disarm any and all of them because of their modifier bonuses, then a DM would be like, well, I guess I'm just never going to use traps again.
It's true. I barely wanted to put traps in it in the first place.
Now, I would say there is a very big hindrance to it still, even if you gave it a duration like Detect Magic, is even though it says it has like a 120-foot range, it's also visual on what
Yes.
the character can see, and he doesn't
Yes.
have Dragonborn don't have dark vision,
No.
so it would
Or it could be behind
technically,
a tapestry. You're not technically seeing it. It's behind something.
right. And if you give it the same limitations of Detect Magic, where if it has any of these levels of a solid barrier between you and it, you don't technically detect it.
Mm-mm.
And because he only has 30 feet of actual vision, if he has a light, then the range is reduced from 120 to 30.
And to be fair, also the spell only tells you it's there. It doesn't tell you anything else about it.
Yeah, it doesn't tell you what type or where
Nope.
exactly
No triggers,
its
no disarming.
triggers are, how to disarm it. It just says there's a trap roughly right here.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what you have a cell row for.
Yeah, walking through them.
Yep. Or putting his arm through it. Man, that should have been a critical hit. Just cost him his hand permanently.
Yeah, that's a regeneration is a very high level spell I don't have yet.
Yeah. True restoration. You're gonna have to save all your findings just to get him his hand back.
That would be just brutal.
You could go into debt to some big warlock somewhere. Some wizard. How much does a hand cost?
I'm not going to Google that because I don't need that in my search history.
I'll probably Google it later. I don't want to mess up my screen again. So we are going to call it here for the equipment of doom. We'll be back next Saturday, ideally with everybody here that time, because we really want to get into some actual gameplay, not just talking about it.
Preferably.
So, John, thanks for sticking around this morning. Alex, it was good to have you here if you watched to this point ever again. Otherwise, anybody who watches this, it's good to have you here, and we'll catch you later.
See ya.